Hey, Jonathan Sellers with Spark Outbound here. I'm a CEO and founder, and today we are going live to talk about using LinkedIn outreach to enter new markets or test new audiences. And today I'm going to be joined by our Director of Operations and South Africa Country Director, Simon Bayer. Uh, I think this is going to be a bit philosophical as well as a bit practical conversation. And as always, every time we go live, we're always going to be talking about something related to lead generation, business development, sales tactics or strategies, or technology. And so if you enjoy this type of information, I would ask that you please subscribe to our channel. And if you want to know get notifications when we go live, you can always click the notification bell. So back to today's topic. It's really revolving around something we personally have gone through. So this is something that's really relevant for us. In the last year, we have, well, actually in January 2021, we have just officially opened our South Africa branch office. But through the last year plus, we have been essentially testing out a variety of markets around the world. Um, and just to really test and see, like, is there viability with offering our services in those markets, as well as viability of what does it look like with having team members on our team in different places around the world. And so through testing, we were really able to identify South Africa, and then drilled it down into Cape Town, where we are basing our office there in South Africa, as a great opportunity for us. But it really came through doing this type of testing that we're going to talk about today. We've also been able to identify some other markets around the world that we think are good fits, for what we do, for the type of services that we offer, or also in the same case as South Africa, as we grow our team. Our team's vision is more of a global focus, and just being able to work with clients around the world, and having team members from around the world that have different perspectives and different um, bits of value they can bring to what we're doing. And so we wanted to talk a little bit today about that, and with Simone, really kind of being integral in some of the testing that we've done in South Africa. And then she's also our country director there. So she's representing us essentially on the ground there, in a completely different market. For anyone who doesn't know, we're based in the US in Tampa, Florida. And so we thought it would be good to get some of her perspective on some of this. But what we really want to focus on is, if you are considering, and this doesn't have to be international, but if you're considering either going into a new market, so it could even be scaled all the way down to you operate in one city, and you want to now, if you're in the US, open up to your state, or if you've just been kind of having people right in your area or your state, and you want to go regional or nationwide. Some of these same things apply, that we're going to talk about today, but then obviously it gets more complicated when you are going from one country, one culture, potentially one language, to another region, another language, another cultural expectations. There's a lot of complications with that, and there can be a lot of cost with that. And so I think what we're going to highlight today is the cost effectiveness of being able to use LinkedIn outreach specifically, to cut down some of the time, I think, that it takes to do this research, and also take away a lot of the cost that you could use by either contracting or hiring people on the ground there first before you essentially have the information, or other channels that you might use to do that testing. So you might hire a market research firm, do a market research project. Obviously, there's cost that goes with that. You might do advertising. There's a lot of cost that goes with that. And some of those things you might not know what you're trying to figure out yet, essentially. And so you might spend a lot of money and then figure out, oh, now we realize now we need to come from this whole nother angle. And then I guess at that point you haven't wasted the money, right? Because now you know that you were not looking at it the right way, but you spent a lot of money to figure that out. And so maybe there's some things we can do with LinkedIn, more strategically to figure this type of thing out. And so this could be entering a new market, so a new physical location, a new physical market, or it could also just be that you have a new audience. So you've always sold to if you're in the like the logistics industry or something like that, and you've always sold to AC heating HVAC companies, and that's been what you focused on. But now you want to open up and focus on delivery companies, right? They're doing deliveries, and you want to provide a service to them. It could help you accelerate that process as well. So it could be just a new audience. It doesn't have to be a new market. So just want to get your gears spinning in that direction, and then we're going to talk about. I wanted to just throw it to Simone first and foremost, just to really talk about some of the functional reasons why is LinkedIn. What does LinkedIn give us the capabilities to do that allows this, to be maybe the way we approach figuring out if this is the right market or right audience.
Cool, sure. So I think on a strategic level, LinkedIn is great. There are they're almost endless opportunities of what one can do. So especially when it comes to really defining your target audience. And the great thing with that is, if you are looking to perhaps diversify into a different industry, you can refine your search to those specific industries. You can define down to the title of the person at that, or the job position at that company, to make sure that you are reaching the right people, the decision makers. Once again, you can also target specific locations. You can do countries. You can go right down to an actual South Africa, we would say a province, like the smallest that you could get. So you can really, really target down. So I'd say that's more on the strategic level. And then other things that LinkedIn offers one is the ability to test different markets at different times. You can reach out to multiple different markets at the same time. You can also test different types of services. So perhaps I think with, in Spark Outbound's case, the services that we perhaps offer in South Africa, what we're starting with, perhaps may be different to what traditionally is offered in the US, and that's done through the market research. So you can really target and see, okay, what sort of service would be viable, would work in this market. And it's as has been mentioned, it is really, really cost effective. You have the immediate engagement with contacts. You can converse with them, and there are other great ways to connect and find out what you're looking for through. You can join groups on LinkedIn. So groups specifically, perhaps, I don't know, to the country or to the industry that you're looking at targeting. You can reach out to people with experience in that industry and get their feedback, to see if there's a need or just general feedback on how to go about doing things. So there really are a multitude of different things that LinkedIn offers you. And I think for me, the great thing about it is that it is low cost. It's immediate. I can get onto it today. I can go in, I can start researching, and you can almost get results quite quickly as well. The responses will start coming in soon. Yes, I think it is a great tool overall in what it offers.
Yeah, and I mean, so I think a couple things from that. So I'll start at the last thing you said. While you could be going about this doing research, this has actually happened to us. So we were we were literally not selling anything. We were just doing research. But then once we reached out to somebody, they, I guess, investigated us to see who we were, what we do, came back to us and says they wanted to work with us, and so we essentially got clients from literally not trying, just trying to get that information and trying to understand the approach we should be taking, or like how do people take the offerings that do people understand the offering that we're presenting, and I guess how do people like what are the expectations that companies have around what we do, and so yeah, it actually led us immediately to a client. And so I think one thing that someone pointed out that I want to focus on, or I want to drill down a step further, is so when we're talking about finding the people. So when you have your LinkedIn account, you can run searches, and so you can find people that are on LinkedIn based off different criteria. We always recommend upgrading to one of the premium options for LinkedIn. So there's LinkedIn Premium, which I think gives you a little bit more search capabilities. But we use, because we're doing sales, that's what we're trying to do, business development and sales. We recommend Sales Navigator. It gives you significantly more search criteria, so you can really drill down. Even some of the things like Simone said, even people that are in groups, right? So you're defining it by, I want to find people who are in Cape Town, South Africa, who work in the industry of, I don't know, public relations, and who, have been in their role for 6 to 10 years, and who are in a C-level or VP level position. So all of those kind of like normal ways that when you're building audiences, you want to kind of define it to who you think is your best fit. But then there's these other cool things like and are in this group in LinkedIn, or have engaged on LinkedIn in the past 30 days and made a post. So there's just a lot of cool ways that you can drill down and get a better audience. It's not perfect, obviously. And it also requires people to self-identify themselves, because that's where the information comes from, is what people put on their LinkedIn profiles. Um, but I think that's important, is to know that is going to give you a better result than if you just go on your LinkedIn. But you can still just go on your LinkedIn, the free version, your free just basic LinkedIn profile, and still do some searches. So you can still get down, into finding a general audience. So you could literally start this today for free, um, to to get something happening, something flowing. And so you're finding people, you're looking at these people's profiles, and you're saying, this looks like a person I want to connect with. This person could potentially help me. Send a connection request off. Um, and then if they accept it, start a conversation. Sales Navigator, like I said, it gives you the ability to drill down further, and it also allows you to connect with more people, so people that are further away from your network. So there's several benefits to having Sales Navigator, and that's what we recommend. There's also a different version for recruiting if you're looking for employees, so you can, if that's your role, is you're kind of a recruiter, you could have that. It gives you a lot of the same search functionality as Sales Navigator, but it gears it a little more towards the HR type role. Um, but we would recommend that. And so if you were looking at, okay, what does this cost me? So in the US, um, I think it's $79 or 79.99 a month to have Sales Navigator. Um, and then in South Africa, I forget the rand amount currently, but it roughly breaks down to somewhere, depending on currency conversion, somewhere between 40 to 50 US dollars a month in South Africa. And it varies, whichever country you're based out of, it varies a bit. But I would say it's no more expensive anywhere than the US. So I would say $80 US or less per month would be your cost there. And so then you could go out and you could do small scale testing. You could incorporate some technology like we typically do, and you could do a little bit more, or just essentially not have so much manual um, effort that needs to go into it to keep up with it and make sure that you're tracking who's accepting your responses and things like that. But the point is, the network gives you the information you need to go out and find who these people are that you need to talk to. And like Simone said, it could be somebody who just, they're not your end person, that they're not your end customer, I guess, but they could be somebody who works in that industry and could give you valuable feedback. I have connected with many people over the years who have fulfilled that exact role for me. Um, just somebody who's willing to even give 5 minutes of their time to not even get on a phone call, just respond back to a message. But their responses can be very valuable in understanding, how you should be approaching something, um, or if you shouldn't, and if you hear from two or three people in that position who have this experience and who have these connections and who should be considered a trusted authority in whatever you're trying to do, and two or three of them are telling you like what you're trying to do will not work here, you should probably take heed to that. And you know once again, say that those three conversations could save you thousands and thousands of dollars of just going ahead and just rolling something out. So we typically do ongoing. We're ongoing with research. So we're always doing some type of research all the time to just get a pulse for different industries, or like what are business development and salespeople feeling right now, especially through COVID. We've done multiple different putting out feelers just to see what people are thinking. We're doing one right now. And so essentially, what we're asking people now, and these are people that they're connections to me. So these are not new people. These are just people within my network already. And so I'm just asking people who are in business development, marketing, sales roles, if they're seeing changes in the channels, like the ways that their business is generating leads as we're coming into this new year. So we've come through now 10, 11 months through this COVID crisis. And obviously there's been massive changes all around the world. And so just to see what are people saying. And so I've, I haven't tallied it yet because I still have quite a bit more to collect. But I would say so far we're approaching 100 responses. We've been doing it for the past week and a half, I think. And I would say it's roughly about a 60-40 split. So 60% of people are saying that they are essentially just business as usual, right? They haven't changed anything, haven't seen any big negative impacts, and they're just moving forward as they were. And then the other 40% are something has changed. Either they have what they were doing declined in effectiveness and now they've switched, or they're just saying essentially they've seen negative repercussions and they haven't figured it out yet. So they're trying to figure that out. So it's really interesting just to get that type of feedback and just understand what's happening out in the world. Like you can have such a like a one-sided view based off what you're doing, but just to really take a step back and just get that real world feedback from other people who are experiencing it themselves, it can be really helpful in shaping what you're doing as well. Or just give you ideas. Like some of the people who responded have had amazing, like the things they're doing is awesome. And it's really cool that they're sharing it, that they're willing to just give this, bit of feedback about their what's happening with them, and a lot of people don't. So that's what I think makes it even cooler, is that there are people out there who are just who just they like talking about what they do and they're willing to do it. It's just a couple seconds out of their day. They just send over one or two sentences. Mostly some of them send paragraphs, which is cool. But yeah, I think that kind of conversation is what social media is about. I think that's why also it works perfect for the market research side of things, because this is where you can um, you're rather than coming to somebody necessarily to sell them, you're coming to them because you have found them to be somebody who could potentially be an authority and is having valuable information. So I think that's really cool. Um, so with South Africa specifically, we did two different types of research. So we did email outreach research, and we've done so LinkedIn outreach as well. And so both of them had great results. But obviously we're talking right now about LinkedIn, so I want to focus on some of your like I guess we've been doing a campaign through you more recently through your LinkedIn account, and I thought we would get some perspective on your campaign results so far, as well as comparing that to just the general, like all of our clients, just broad averages.
Sure. So the campaign, first I just want to say, just to echo on something that Jonathan had mentioned, is that I've also found that some contacts respond to the connection request with saying they've checked us out and can I provide them with more information? They're interested in our services, and that's really without having engaged that much. And I would say that the focus of the campaign that we're running in South Africa, well, that my LinkedIn campaign, the messages going out are not necessarily trying to get a sale. It's about sharing information with relevant people that we have identified to be the audience that I'm targeting at the moment. And that information is really about sharing content that we're working on, or insights, and really just getting feedback from the contacts. And through that, it's quite amazing, because without actually even trying to make a sale, people are coming and saying, we've had a look at your videos, they look fantastic, or whatever it is, and then they're asking for more information on our services, which I think is great. And overall, I would say that the results that I have been receiving are, I want to say, excellent. They really are quite incredible. So
Significantly above
significant.
average.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank
significantly
you.
above average.
Yeah. So I'm for connection, responding to connections, and then responding to my messaging. I'm getting about a 45 to 50% acceptance and response rate, compared to, I would say, between 20 and 30% on average, normally, that we found in other markets and with other clients.
Yeah,
And that really,
some
yeah.
some do occasionally go over that, but when we average everything, like across all campaigns, industries, clients, it typically is safe to say you can expect 20 to 30%.
Yeah. So the results are really quite significant that we're seeing on this campaign. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know that there's an answer to this question, but what do you think may be causing that? Do you have like a hypothesis over why we may be seeing this different type of result? I'm
Um,
putting you on the spot right now.
yeah. I want to say that because South Africans are just lovely people, which is true. But I think, it does have to, firstly, the service that we're offering, through our markets research, we have found that this is not a service that, there aren't endless companies offering this service within South Africa. It's not freely available necessarily. So I feel that the product that we do offer is very niche, and there is a need for it. So I think that in itself is a huge factor. What we're offering, and the content, that the messaging that we're sending out, is enticing. People want to learn more. I think, engaging and making it more conversational. But definitely, I do feel that because of the specific service that we're offering, and it not being available really within South Africa, that is a huge draw for us.
Yeah, and I just want to go on the record for commenting that I also think it's because people in South Africa are very nice and wonderful. So I just wanted to put that out there in on record. So anyway, uh, and I'm not being facetious. That is genuinely true. So everyone I've spoken with has been awesome. So not to say that anyone anywhere else is not, but the point is I agree with that 100%. And I think that's part of, once again, rounding back around to this whole concept of how do we use LinkedIn to do the research. I think using LinkedIn and then also in our case email to do the research, we discovered that, right? So that's how we ended up in Cape Town, is because we felt, and there's other markets as well in this exact same boat, where we did feel that there was a huge opportunity in South Africa, because we were not finding direct competition. There are, and not to say there's nobody. So if you're out there and you're like, well, I do this in South Africa, like we know there's a couple of you, so we know who you are. But as far as when you compare some of the, the US and even UK, which UK is a market we're focusing on, there's a lot more competition who does these type of things. Maybe not exactly how we do it, but something similar. And so um, and then there's just a lot more people doing it in general. So that it's just in practice more often. So, I guess from an inside view on Spark Outbound's mentality, like these are the type of things we look at. It's like, are there places where we would have less friction to enter? And we thought that South Africa is one. We have in, I guess it's February 16th today. So we've really been operating since January 4th, I think was the first day when we really, officially were like, okay, we're in business in South Africa. And we've had, you know, I would consider significant interest for the time frame. Um, and so we'll see how that works out. Like that doesn't mean, we're adding like an insane number of clients already, but we've had a very significant level of interest. And so we have added several clients already, and we have several more that are still in discussion. So we'll see how it goes. But I would say to those people who are considering it, or maybe someone from South Africa who sees this video, keep in mind the statistics that Simone said, because we've seen that consistently with campaigns on LinkedIn and email, that South Africa, first and foremost, consistently overperforms the US or the UK in our campaigns. So I can't say this is everybody, but I can say when we're managing a campaign with our strategies, it consistently overperforms other regions, other markets, as far as how many people respond, how many people are open to doing conversations. And then if you're on the continent of Africa, so if you're maybe in East Africa, Nigeria, I'm sorry, Kenya, Uganda, um, somewhere in that area, if you're in West Africa, Nigeria, Ghana, like keep in mind that also in these markets, the performance is exceptionally high. So I know, there's two pieces to this. So there's piece one, which is getting the conversation started, and that's what Spark Outbound, that's what we do as a service. So if somebody asks us, what do? We start conversations with people that you want to do business with for you. Um, and then the second part is once we do that, or once you do that, is then now you have the sales process, which is explaining what you do, staying in contact with this person and then turning them into a client. So there's two pieces for it. So with the part that we do, we see very, very, very good results across the continent of Africa. And so that's all of that combined is we hope to help a lot of people worldwide, but we specifically in 2021 we see a big opportunity there. maybe this feedback that I'm giving is also speaking to someone else who is looking at where should they internationally expand. And I would just say there's a lot of things in on the continent of Africa that are happening right now, such as the African Free Trade Agreement, which just went into motion this year, which are going to present a lot of opportunities for a lot of people worldwide, a lot of people across the continent. Hopefully, that's the hopes at least, is that, by removing some of the trade I think the word correct is correct to say intracontinental trade restrictions that had been in place that were very complicated. And, from my understanding, from a lot of Africa exports go off the continent historically, um, because it would be literally cheaper, for instance, to export something from, country A to US or to Europe than it will be to their neighboring country that's literally connected to them sometimes, because of tariffs and things like that. And so the free trade agreement is you know, designed, the goal of it is to alleviate that and make things flow more freely. So, but anyway, that's a side note on some of the things that went into our decision. But it all came about because we started doing market research, and we didn't start doing market research in South Africa. So to a point Simone made a bit earlier, um, we started doing market research in multiple markets at once. So we didn't just say like out of the blue one day, I didn't wake up and say like I had a dream last night that South Africa is a market we should focus on. It was this conversation with Whitney, our digital outreach director, and myself, and some of our other team members, and we were saying, can we do this in other markets, just plural and just in general? And so we came up with a plan and we started testing. I think we literally tested, maybe it might have been as many as 30 different markets, and South Africa just stood out to us in the tests. And then over time we kept doing more and more tests, and then it just led us to where we are. And so it was literally from the time where we started it in 2019. So it took almost an entire year to make the decision that we were going to do it, to move into South Africa. And then we started that process in Q4 of 2020. And then, there's obviously process to go through to get there. But rounding back to the point is rather than us just deciding, so we had ideas of other markets that were better, and our tests revealed, or at least the tests we did at the time revealed, that it wasn't true, and it led us to somewhere that is better. So saved us what I would consider thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars, and what would have probably been a failed effort, had we just gone with our gut versus getting this data. And what did it cost us to do this? Like, a few $100s to do all this research, and just time, just a little bit of time, and just organizing it, and taking time internally to discuss what we were seeing, and like how, okay, so we got this, this first round of information, we got some good information, so what should we ask next? Um, so yeah, so I hope that helps somebody out there who may be, who may have some ideas or some plans that in 2021 you want to do something big. You have a new product or service you want to launch, or you want to go international, or you want to take your local business, to a bigger area. I hope you think about, especially if you're in the B2B space, but I think there's even certain situations where you can use this in B2C in this instance. So not always, but I think you can, kind of to Simone's point earlier, you can go to those people who might be an authority, and you could just target just some of those people who have maybe gone down the path you're trying you're trying to head down before, and could probably, give you some good advice that would maybe save you time and resources, or give you, some reason why something would be a roadblock that you maybe never have thought of before. So, did you have anything else, Saman, that you wanted to include today?
I think just to end off, I think when doing research, the goal is not necessarily to get a sale, make a sale at that stage. But with through LinkedIn, you have the opportunity to really cultivate relationships, and grow long-term relationships with contacts on LinkedIn. And you never know when I think the having the ability to maintain relationships um, is such a positive um, aspect of LinkedIn. Um, Even if someone can't help you at this moment, or you can't help them at this moment, um, so long as you like keeping that relationship going, in time something may come up. And also, like, just one more thing about that I've noticed in the campaign that I'm doing is sometimes people will come back to me and they say, business is actually doing so well, um, that right now, maybe we don't need lead generation, but definitely in the future. And personally, I think that's fantastic. I love hearing that feedback as well. It's being able to celebrate with somebody else, or to be able to acknowledge their successes, um, and yeah, really like forming that relationship where it's not just about me, what I'm needing, um, but also considering the other person, and genuinely forming that relationship. So I'll just end on that.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean that's what it's really about, is building relationships, and then with us, we like to say building relationships at scale. So just taking it next level. But it is really cool to see when people are doing great. I love to hear that too. And it's funny because a lot of people, especially in the US, I think also maybe in the UK, a lot of people, I will say something that has nothing to do with selling them something or offering them something, and then they respond back they're not interested, or like, something like that. So people are a little bit jaded in some instances. They're just not even reading what you're saying. They just assume you're pitching them. But it is really cool to hear that someone is doing great, or they're so busy they can't handle, what they're doing. So it is great to it's kind of like the whole thing with your network and your, relationships, and it's like the people that you're interacting with, or the people that you're engaging with, affect you, and like how you're living. Because like when you're constantly seeing people, um, you know or interacting with people who are successful, it helps you get into that mindset. So that's a whole nother conversation. But no, I hope you found this, valuable. It's, a lot of our conversations are like this one, where it's just more philosophical, and we're just really talking about what we've experienced. But what we want to try to do is just give people ideas. And so, like I said at the beginning, it's always going to be ideas around lead generation, LinkedIn, email, outreach, sales tactics and strategies, business development, just, running from my perspective, running a business. And um, you know in the future it could evolve. But if this is the type of content you like, we would love for you to be part of it, and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to get a notification, like I mentioned before, you can always click the bell, and you'll just get a notification right to your mobile or email, whenever we go live. We try to go live every week. Not 100%, but we try every week. And next time, I think we're going to go a little one step further into LinkedIn. We're kind of wrapping up a series we're doing on LinkedIn right now, and we're going to talk about some profile optimization tips and just content tips, for things you can do to supplement your, if you are going to go this path of outreach, how you can use some of that to as a validation factor, a credibility factor, um, and it can really help. Like Simone was saying, some people see the connection, look at her profile, for instance, and see what we do, go dig deeper, and then they want to talk to us, right? So that in itself proves the value of having those type of things um, optimized. So we're going to dig into that a little bit deeper next time. But otherwise, we hope you enjoyed it. Feel free to leave any comments or suggestions or questions below. We'll try to get back to them as soon as possible. And otherwise, we will see you next time on Spark Outbound Live. See you later.